It is 7:12. The Edmund Fitzgerald remains one of the most enduring stories on the Great Lakes. A ship lost in the fury of a November storm and 29 lives forever remembered. Today, thousands are in Whitefish Point to honor those lives lost, including 13 on your side, meteorologist Blake Hansen. Blake, good morning to you. You've made your way all the way up north there on this 50th anniversary. Good morning to you, my friend.
Yes, good morning to you as well, Tanner. It is a cold morning up here at Whitefish Point. The Lake Superior has a bit of a chop to it off this north wind, but yes, 50 years ago was that fateful day of the Edmund Fitzgerald as it sank just 17 miles northwest here of Whitefish Point. Of course, the weather, a main factor of that day. I did take a look back at the Edmund Fitzgerald and its final voyage of the weather it contended with.
On the evening of November 10th, 1975, one of the largest freighters on the Great Lakes at the time, the Edmund Fitzgerald, disappeared into the icy depths of Lake Superior, never to surface again. The wreck rests about 17 miles northwest of Whitefish Point, Michigan, in Canadian waters. And even now, 50 years later, in the words of Gordon Lightfoot, the legend lives on. The Edmund Fitzgerald first set sail in 1958, measuring more than 729 feet in length, larger than most modern freighters on the lakes today. It was known as a sturdy, dependable hauler of taconite iron ore. But on November 9th, it departed on what would become its final voyage, straight into the teeth of a massive November gale. It all started with a developing low-pressure system over the Central Plains on November 9th, 1975. As it raced toward the upper Great Lakes, it deepened rapidly, classic gales of November. By the morning of November 10th, the storm had intensified to around 980 millibars as it approached Lake Superior. It maintained its strength as it crossed the lake into Canada by the evening of the 10th. The Edmund Fitzgerald departed from Superior, Wisconsin on the afternoon of the 9th. Conditions were manageable, but by that evening, the National Weather Service had issued gale warnings for all of Lake Superior. Through the night of the 9th into the 10th, the Fitzgerald and another freighter, the Arthur M. Anderson, battled increasing northeast winds, heavy rain, and building waves. As the storm intensified, the gale warning was upgraded to a storm warning by the National Weather Service. By the afternoon of November 10th, conditions deteriorated rapidly. As the low tracked into Canada, winds shifted sharply to the north and west, a crucial change that unleashed the storm's full force. That wind shift dramatically increased the fetch across Lake Superior, allowing massive waves to build, especially near the Fitzgerald's positioning by early evening. In the Fitzgerald's last moments, conditions were extreme. The nearby Anderson reported sustained winds near 55 miles per hour, with gusts approaching 80 miles per hour. Waves were over 20 feet high, and some swells were estimated at more than 25 feet, driven nearly perpendicular to the Fitzgerald's course. The Fitzgerald, already taking on water and listing, was in the home stretch toward the safety of Whitefish Bay. Captain McSorley's final message to the Arthur M. Anderson was short and steady: we're holding our own. Only minutes later, the Edmund Fitzgerald disappeared beneath the waves, claiming all 29 aboard. The ship's final position aligned almost perfectly with the storm's most violent phase. 2 decades later, in 1995, the final dive to the wreck was made, recovering the ship's bell in honor of the crew. Years later, the Canadian government placed strict restrictions on diving and sonar work at the site. Out of nearly 6,000 known shipwrecks on the Great Lakes, the Edmund Fitzgerald stands apart and continues to capture the public's imagination. While storms of this strength continue to strike the Great Lakes, advances in forecasting and weather observation have significantly improved safety over the past several decades, helping modern ships avoid such tragic fates. 50 years have passed since the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, yet the legend lives on.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's now been 50 years since the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Of course, it became infamous with the song by Gordon Lightfoot that was released a year later. That is still a big lore here on the Great Lakes. But Tanner, it's a little bit of a sombering feel this morning. It's despite the cold and the wind, it's a beautiful morning here at Whitefish Bay, Whitefish Point, with the sunrise about to appear up here. By the way, Tanner, they are expecting, we talked to the Great Lakes Shipwreck Society yesterday, and they are expecting anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 plus people potentially this afternoon for the public ceremony. That will be at 2 o'clock, and then they will have a private ceremony at 7 this evening that will just be for family and friends of those lost on the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Wow, 50 years, Blake. I mean, it has been one of those stories and tales that has really stood the test of time. And I feel like in recent memory, maybe the last 3 or 4 years, we've really seen the Edmund Fitzgerald tale come back into the spotlight. A lot of younger crowds are playing that song that song about the Edmund Fitzgerald. Why would you say that is? Why do you think that this has just come back up recently here? Is it because of the 50th anniversary, or do you think it's just a way for people to remember?
I think in part it is due probably to the 50th anniversary. But, there's also still a mystery about the Fitzgerald on why it actually sank. We all know that the weather and the massive waves played the ultimate factor, but there's still a lot of uncertainty of how it sank. Did it break apart in half on the surface of the water? Did the wave submerge the freighter and it took a nosedive down to the depths of Lake Superior? There's still some uncertainty there. There's also a few other theories on its final voyage of maybe how it took on water and some listings. So there's still uncertainty there that might add to the lore of the Fitzgerald. And the other thing, Tanner, is that the Fitzgerald's one of the more known shipwrecks here, but there are over 6,000 shipwrecks on the Great Lakes. So it kind of just expands that knowledge of how much fury the Great Lakes can bring, especially here in November, the gales of November with these powerful storms. So I think that's a little bit around it, and especially now today being the 50th anniversary.
Yeah, 50th anniversary. You said it was a beautiful morning there. Before we let you go and get warm, how cold is it there in Whitefish Point?
It's about 25, 30 degrees at best, but the wind's coming right out of the north. I think there's been some gusts near 30 miles per hour, so the wind chill only around 10, 15 degrees right now. So it's a pretty cold morning, but the sun's going to rise here in about, I would say 15, 20 minutes from now, and it's going to be a really nice, beautiful sunrise. Again, on this, sombering day.
All right. Well, meteorologist Blake Hansen reporting live for us there in Whitefish Point before we get to that big ceremony, remembrance ceremony there. We'll let you go and get warm, but we'll check in with you here in just a little bit. Blake, thank you.